Probably by now you have all been working on a React Native app and you've seen on tutorials that they normally use different ways to structure their folders. But I just wanted to create a video whereby I show you how to structure a basic React Native app. So it can be Expo or it can be a React Native CLI project. So what I want to achieve by this is to show you that you don't have to use complicated folder structures to make apps that you can release to the Play Store or the App Store. For example, here I got an app called Circle. This app I already released it to the Google Play Store. So as you can see here, so this is the app that I'm gonna just talk about while I present this folder structure. So the aim here is that it can get really complicated when it comes to creating folder structures. I mean, I've seen folder structures whereby they even have atoms, molecules, and templates. You don't need to go that far if you are simply creating a basic React Native app, or even like any app in fact. But then I know that there are exceptions. For example, if you're working in a team and it's a big team, then you might go to that extent. But if it's only like 3 of you or 2 of you and you just want to have like a basic structure that you can have on your multiple projects that you're working on. For example, with this folder structure that I'm gonna show you now, I use it on all my projects, and the best part about it is that I can just simply copy a folder and paste it on another project and it'll just work because I'm consistent with it, and the structure remains the same on all the apps. I'll just have to rename some functions, but then everything will remain the same. So normally on your app, I just create, when you start up a new app, I'll create a source folder, which is this folder here. Within that source folder, I'll create components. Components are basically all the items that you create multiple of them. For example, here in this app, you see that we have this main rectangle which like renders multiple of them, and then within this main frame or this component there are multiple components which are similar to that. So it makes sense for you to create one component and then which you're gonna use for all the other structures. So in this case, but then I just use it in a flat list, but it's the same similar process for other components as well. So something which is repeating, so which you're gonna use often, and then you find that things normally repeat either like a paragraph type component for a header which you're gonna use on multiple pages. Got profile pictures, avatars, like the way you create them, they repeat, so it makes sense for you to create them under components. And then you have constants here. So constants are normally everything which doesn't change in the duration of your app. So static values within a feature, if I can put it simply like that. If you are using TypeScript, that's where you get your action types. But then one thing which I've noticed as well, that with your styles as well, one can also define that as a constant because it doesn't change. So you might put actually your styles in the constants. So that's what I did. For example, my global styles, which are simple in this case, I just put it in the constants. So you have your primary color and your secondary color. It's a very simple app, like in terms of the color scheme. We're not going crazy. Yeah, and then the other part as well, which is very important, is this one. I see many people leave it out and they prefer to do navigation elsewhere in the app, which makes it complicated. So rather than putting your navigation in the app.js, it's recommended that to put your navigation here in the source folder. And the reason to that is like I showed you. For example, if you have an app which has a drawer and a bottom navigation or stack navigation, and you're creating a new app, you can always create a template, but then if you don't have time for that, you can always just copy this folder, paste it on your new app. Automatically you have a React Native navigation with drawers and stack navigation and all of that, and you just have to install the packages. That's all, of which will be easy since you have the package.json, which you can just paste it again. Yeah, so that's why I recommend rather put navigation here than on the app. So on navigation, I split it up to call it a root navigator, because it does navigation for the whole app, and even there, so it will be your main screens, your app drawer, because there's an app drawer here, and then your stack navigator as well, and then you just wrap everything into a navigation container. And then so this root navigator is actually your main app, because if you go to my app.js, you can see that everything here is wrapped. I import the root navigator and then just paste it on the return of the app, so this is what shows. So okay, and then the next part here is Redux. So some people call it Redux, or you can call it store, because not everyone is using Redux. You might be using context, like the React context. You might be using Mobex or any other like state management. So you can rename it accordingly. Some people just name it as store, and then they'll put their state management specific folders there. For me, since I'm using Redux, I just normally put Redux, which makes it easy for another person to know from the get-go that okay, here we're using Redux. So I just put it like that, and then within the Redux folder you'll have your store, action, reducers, and actions. But then if you're using Redux Toolkit, I have a video which I'll link on, which talks about Redux Toolkit. With Redux Toolkit, the recommended folder structure is you have Redux, the main folder, and then underneath you can have your store.js, so this doesn't change. And then but then after that you're gonna have features, and if you're doing an app which is like a e-commerce app which has a cut, it will be features, cut, and then cut slice. So it goes like that. So you'll have actions and features. Those will be two folders which will be here if you're using Redux Toolkit. And then the last one which I can mention to you is screens. So with screens, these are basically the views, like the main views of your screen, what you navigate between. So you can always think about like use the navigation part as like sort of like the baseline of how you're gonna create your screens. For example, you want to move from home to details screen, and then from there your privacy policy might be a different screen, and then a thanks screen is also a different screen. I'll create a video just noting what is a thanks screen, because I see many young developers or solo developers don't do this, whereby they acknowledge the libraries that they use in their apps, of which I think something that needs to be done. We need to acknowledge people who create libraries, because if you're using a React app or a React Native app, we live by third-party libraries, so we need to acknowledge them when we use them in our app. So that's why I have a thanks screen here, and then in the thanks screen I'm basically thanking the people, the different packages which I have here in the app. So it's important to have something like that in your app. So yeah, that's basically it, the walkthrough the app itself and the folder structure. So but I can mention that there are other complicated folder structure that you can use, but this one works on almost all the apps. And then let's just say you can just add on top of this. If for example you have internal, like you want your apples use international languages or different languages, you can have an i18n folder. Just create a new folder, and then it'll be like i18n. So this is where you're gonna put your logic for international languages, and it should be on the source. And then it might happen also that you see, like, all of these cases are just additional to what you have. If you have, like, let's say utilities, you can add another folder called utilities, but like the utilities will just put your helpers there. For example, like a progress bar or a date picker. But then equally that can be done for a component as well. You can put that in the component. So that's why I normally just didn't do that, because a progress bar, you can almost put it, you're gonna put it everywhere, so it's more of like a component to me. So that you can do that. So that's basically it for this video. But if you have any questions, you can just put them in the comments, and I'll be happily to answer it. Or if you want me to show you a complicated folder structure that you can use, which is shareable, I can do that as well. But for mainly my small apps, I just use this one because I want something quick, something someone understand easily without spending a lot of time there. Cheers, eh?